doing an unnatural thing. You're giving up time, your noon hour, in fact, simply to the cause of good government. It doesn't come naturally to folks. Most of us, let's be honest, would rather leave that to somebody else in our busy lives, and that's exactly why change is so hard to bring about. You get to a set of changes like those that Governor Kernan and John Stafford here and their colleagues thought through and proposed for the rest of us. And however much sense they make, however strong public opinion may be in their favor, which is certainly the case here by every measure. But that's no guarantee of anything, because those who would be inconvenienced by a change, or whose very personal or even financial interests would be altered, can be counted on to be very, very active, very busy, very noisy, very aggressive about opposing any alteration of the status quo. And if the very, very large majority who would benefit from change and supports it in the abstract leaves the work to somebody else, quite often change loses. And that's why we're so appreciative you came out today, as people have been coming out in town after town that I have visited, or the governor and I visited together. We want to spend our time on your questions, and so I simply am going to reaffirm my incredible appreciation to Joe Kernan for making the time he didn't have to give. This person who's given his country and state more than our society has a right to expect already, but yet he took this up and did a terrific job. And his involvement and his presence here today underscores the fundamental fact now before us. If change is to succeed, it must be bipartisan. There is no more bipartisan effort I think we've seen in Indiana in years than the one we're embarked on here. But none of this will happen unless we are able to reach people of both parties, feel to their best instincts about the future of our state. And so it is so important that average citizens of both parties, with influence on people in both parties, take time to make that call, send that letter, let people say, hey, give change a chance. Thanks for being that kind of person, and thanks for this opportunity today.
We are so honored to also have with us today Governor Joe Kernan, who is, as a leader, perhaps more than any other, the kind of person who's been willing to stick his neck out in this effort to reform local government. The Kernan-Shepherd report has been hailed for its vision, its boldness, and its practicality. Joe comes from local government. He was mayor of South Bend for 3 terms, and before that, city controller. So please welcome the man whose name has become synonymous with local government reform, Governor Joe Kernan.
Thank you very much, Marilyn, to you and to Chris and everyone here. We appreciate your coming out today. When Governor Daniels called me, what is now about 20 months ago, and asked if I would serve with Randy Shepherd on a commission to make recommendations on how to improve local government, it was an easy call for me. And we had a terrific group of people that included 2 of your fellow citizens, Ian Rowland and John Stafford. And as I said downstairs, Ian was our Commissioner of Common Sense, and John knows more about local government in Indiana than anyone on the planet. And they were a part of a group of 7 of us that came up with 27 recommendations that we were unanimous in recommending to the governor and the General Assembly and the people of Indiana. 2 of our major premises, taken from the charge that Governor Daniels gave us. Frank thought this was important as well. That Governor Daniels gave us in saying, please make recommendations on how we can have a better structure for local government in Indiana. We decided that we would approach it from the standpoint of simplifying local government, in simplifying it, make it easier for people to understand. in making it easier for people to understand. There would be greater participation. And in simplifying it as well, it would be very clear who had responsibility. And with greater participation, you were also able to hold elected officials more accountable for the decisions that they make. You know who to thank and who to go after in the grocery store. And we believe that that was very, very important. The second thing in this new structure that we thought was important to implement, we had the general premise that if you were going to levy taxes, if you were going to be able to issue debt, you should be elected. If you are in an administrative responsibility, you should be appointed. And those were, I think, two of the guiding principles that we used in making those recommendations. I would just, as a point of clarification before we get to the questions, reiterate something that I said downstairs and that we've been saying everywhere we've been. And that is that in the report, we recommend closing no schools. We don't recommend closing any libraries. And we don't recommend closing any fire departments in the state of Indiana. In fact, we believe that the recommendations will provide greater opportunity for small schools, for smaller communities, for the delivery of very important public safety services in those communities without disrupting necessarily the way that those services are currently delivered, other than making sure that they are better coordinated, that there's less administrative overhead, and a simplification again in terms of responsibility and therefore accountability. So thank you again, all of you, for being here. Appreciate the opportunity. It's good to be in Fort Wayne. I look out the window. It looks like it's 75 degrees. I was going to go over and watch the Wizards. Now the tin cups, the tin caps take infield this afternoon. But I don't think they're in town yet. So thank you all very much.
The leader with day-to-day responsibilities for local government reform is Marilyn Schultz, the Executive Director of MySmartGov.org. Marilyn was a legislator for 14 years and later served nearly 3 years as the State Budget Director for Governors Joe Kernan and Frank O'Bannon. In between, Marilyn spent almost 4 years as Executive Director of the Mental Health Association in Indiana and 11 years at Indiana State University. Marilyn doesn't offer lip service to efficiency and effectiveness. She has lived it, worked it, and proven that it can be done. Please join me in welcoming Marilyn Schultz.
Thanks so much, Marilyn, and thanks to you all for coming out. Fort Wayne, I know, has spent a lot of time discussing these important issues, as have so many communities around the state. I've been amazed as I've traveled the state over the last 9 or 10 months, how many local communities are understanding that there are inefficiencies and they're trying very hard to get over them by themselves, but it really is tough, as you all know. There are 5 basic areas of reform